How does a road-facing unit make 200K more than a unit facing a nice pool view that was bought at a similar price? It all comes down to layout. Now, knowing the right layout can make a difference of hundreds and thousands in profit. In this video, I'll be sharing with you exactly what you need to consider in order to determine which layout will be easier for you to exit. So let's look at our first example. Here we have Treasure at Tampines. Now there were two 3-bedroom units that were sold. The first one is facing the barbecue pit as well as the road over here. And the second one is facing the swimming pool over here. So which do you think did better in the resale market? As you can tell by the video title, the one that was facing the road actually made more, 500,000, while the one facing the pool made 274,000. That's over 200,000 in profit. Now, if we look at the price that they entered, it was actually very close. So this result is quite the opposite of what we might expect. Now, with a better view, we would think that people would go for the pool view. So the question to ask ourselves is, why there was this difference? And to understand that, we want to look at the larger picture of where Treasures is located. So just looking at the map, straight away we can see it is surrounded by purple, which represents HDBs. It sits in one of the largest HDB estates in Singapore, which is Tampines. This means that a large pool of the buyers that are coming into Treasures are HDB upgraders. So when deciding which layout to go for, it is important that we think about what might suit their needs. So let's compare the layout of the two units. Now, the first one facing the pool is 915 square feet. So for this 3-bedder, I would say the room size are decent. You can fit a queen size in each of the room. It is pretty regular shape. Now for your dining and your living area, it is pretty standard as well. However, I would say the kitchen, which is an open kitchen here, now, some people might be okay with this, but if we're thinking about HDB upgraders, a large portion of them are going to be families that have to cook for their kids every day and their large families. So when the smoke comes out of the kitchen into the house, all the kids can just run in, it might not be that convenient. Now let's look at the one facing the road, which is 1,033 square feet. Now, the space allocation for this is a bit different. So, of course, the rooms here are also a good size, but the main difference will come in the kitchen area. Here you have an enclosed kitchen, which of course is a lot more functional for the HDB upgrader demographic. You also have a utility. So think about the layout for a HDB flat. You always have your house shelter, which you will use for storage. Now in this case, all they need to do is bring over all their stuff in their house shelter to this storage room. Whereas for the other layout, the 915 square feet one, they will need to figure out how to fit all those things into the bedroom. So in this case, I would say the storage is definitely a bonus point for this group of people. In addition, you also have a yard over here. So actually from the kitchen to the yard to the utility area, it actually looks very similar to what a traditional HDB layout would be. So definitely between these two layouts, if we're thinking about the large group of HDB upgraders that are buying into here, this layout is going to be a lot more functional and easy for them to get used to. Though this unit may not have as good of a view as the other one, when you're thinking about this group buying in, their number one priority is going to be how functional and livable is it for my family before they even think about the view. Which is why in this case, we see that the 1,033 square foot layout, which is more suited for them, did better than the other. Moving on to our second case study, we have the Crest and Principal Garden, which are located right next to each other and TOP just 1 year apart. Now, before we look at the layouts, let's first consider what is the demographic buying into the Alexandria area. Now, those coming over here are definitely looking for luxury. You're located near the central region and you're just a short drive away from Orchard Road. Surrounding you is also a huge landed enclave, so you really get that feeling of exclusivity. Now, it's important to know this because this mindset of looking for luxury is going to translate into the type of layout that they are looking for. So let's look at the 3-bedroom layout for the Crest and Principal Garden. Now for the Crest, we can see right off the bat, it has pretty irregular shape for the bedrooms, so much so that it eats into the space and you can only fit a single size bed here. Now when you think about luxury, the first impression when you walk into a unit is also crucial. So looking at the crest, when you first come in, the first thing you are going to see is this small kitchen over here, and to the right you have your dining and living space, which is functional but pretty narrow, so you don't really get that feeling of grandeur when you walk in. Now comparing that to Principal Garden, now the minute you come in, you are in a private lift, which already adds to that feeling of exclusivity. Now once you come out into the unit, it's really quite breathtaking, where you have this wide layout living room that makes the space feel very open and spacious. The first thing you see is an expanded panoramic view. Now if you go to the kitchen, it is bigger, but for even the yard and the utility and wash closet, you have it in a separate area versus what you have at the crest over here, which really makes it feel like you could have a helper's quarter if you wanted. Now going into the bedrooms, now they are all regular shaped and every single room can fit at least a queen size bed. So looking at the two, I would definitely say for Principal Garden, you're going to get that wow factor almost instantaneously when you walk in, and gives you a much more luxurious feel. So let's see how they both did in the resale market. Now for the crest, we can see the highest profit is around 200 to 300 over here, whereas for Principal Garden, that layout, the highest is 800,000 over here. So very clearly we can see from the profit gap between the two developments for this size, it is 500 to 600,000 in difference for their profit, despite being next to each other and so close in age. So in this case, we can see that the type of layout that this demographic is looking for is very different than from Treasures. And for them, because it is likely for own stay and there's a huge emotional factor to it, they are willing to pay more for their own comfort. And that's why we see such a big difference in the profit. Let's look at another example, Commonwealth Towers. Now, Commonwealth Towers is located right opposite Queenstown MRT. Let's first look at how their one bedroom did. Now, for the one bedroom, we can see all the way up to 2018, they make pretty decent profits of over 100,000. But something happened after that. Now from 2020 onwards, we saw a dip in the average profit of their one bedrooms to below 100,000. So what changed? Well, their neighbor next door, Queen's Peak, TOP, and with that brought 256 units of one bedroom into the area. Now put yourselves in the shoes of a buyer looking to buy a one bedroom here. Will you go and look at the newer development first, or will you look at the older one first? Now, naturally, most of us will want to look at the newer one first. And for a one bedroom, between the two, the size was pretty similar as well as the layout. So for most buyers, they gravitated towards the newer one. And this shows in Queen's Peak's profit. Now, in Commonwealth Towers, when they were dropping, Queen's Peak was still making on average above 100,000 for their one bedroom. Now, how about their three bedroom? For the three bedroom at Commonwealth Towers, it tells quite a different story. The three bedroom was making on average 200 to 300,000 at the same period that the one bedroom was dropping. So why the difference? To understand, let's look at the layout of Commonwealth Towers. So for their three bedrooms, you can see it is 904 square feet, has pretty decent room size that can fit up to a queen size for all, and is pretty regular shape. You have a decent dining area over here as well as a living. Now, major plus point would be the enclosable kitchen, because again, think about who is buying into a three bedroom. Likely a large portion will be for own stay and families, and for families that have to cook, this will definitely be more functional. So how does that compare to Queen's Peak's two most similar size units? Now, it is quite a bit different than Commonwealth Towers. So first, you have an exclusive lift that comes out to the foyer area. So for the foyer area, you do have quite a large space, but it is not very usable. Now, I'll say one of the biggest deal breakers for the layout here in terms of buyers will be the kitchen. This open pantry style kitchen that you cannot enclose even if you want to, and again, it's not very functional when you cook. Their dining area is also tucked right next to it, which means that if you have actual people sitting there, it will fully block the entrance into your unit, and you can't really use the kitchen as well. Now for the bedroom, two of them can only fit a single size bed, and a large chunk of the square feet is allocated to a huge balcony on the outside. Now, similarly for the 936 square feet, it is also open kitchen with single-size bed and a huge balcony. So even though for Queen's Peak, the layout and the square feet appears bigger, but when you walk in, it can actually feel smaller than the Commonwealth Towers layout. So in the case of the 3-bedroom, we see a different story where when the layout is better than your neighbor, even when you're the older development, you can hold your value still. We have come to the end of this video. Now, in summary, when deciding which layout to go for, you first want to consider who is the demographic buying into your area and your unit type. Next, you want to compare your layout with all the other layouts within your development. And lastly, you want to compare your layout with your neighboring developments. I hope this video has given you more confidence to analyze the layouts when shopping for your home. And if you're confused about any particular development, you're always welcome to reach out to me at the listed contacts, and I'll catch you all next time.